Today we're going to talk about some tips that Charisma on Command came up with about how people who have nice guy or girl tendencies can become better at communicating their needs and why they should in the first place. I find it quite unfair towards men that we only complain about nice guys because they're definitely also nice girls with those same tendencies. It's just that I think one doesn't notice that much when it comes to girls when they've got that problem, because it's like kind of feminine to be passive, and with men they're supposed to be strong and always be able to set boundaries and so forth. I think it would be a lie to say that they're not also women who have these nice guy, or rather in this case nice girl tendencies. And I also wanted to say that I also definitely struggle with people pleasing and so forth, so I'm not basically telling you how to change as in I'm the expert and you have to learn from me kind of thing, because I myself am struggling with this and have to work on it as well. So the first thing would be covert contracts. So covert contracts basically are like these contracts that haven't actually been made kind of thing, because they haven't been talked about. It's only us thinking in our mind, if so-and-so happens, then this and this will happen. There wasn't an agreement with another person, but we somehow in our mind think that there's this agreement and there's this expectation, but you haven't communicated it yet. That is exactly the reason why these covert contracts have such a negative impact on your relationships in general. It is because these expectations haven't been expressed and you're expecting stuff from the other person that the other person doesn't even know you necessarily need or want. So a couple of covert contracts that are very typical for nice guys or girls to have, or that they think are just genuinely true, is that if I behave well, if I am or try to be a good person, then only good things will happen to me, which, I mean, we all know that life is unfair and good things happen to bad people and also bad things happen to good people. I mean, obviously, there will be more good in the world if you behave in a better kind of way, but it doesn't guarantee that bad things are going to happen to you no matter how bad you behave. There are also certain aspects in life that we can't control. And then another one that's very typical would be, if I treat someone I like a lot very well, then that person will love me back. And obviously, if you're an asshole, you're not going to be liked. But even though when it comes to that, narcissist, obviously, because they're so confident, can be more charismatic, but only on a surface level. Once you actually get to know them, you notice that it's not too good to be in a relationship with them. But you can also treat someone well and just not be their type. And then no matter how good you behave or how many favours you do, it won't change anything. There has to be a level of attraction there for that person to love you back. I think what many people are confused about is that we think what everyone wants in a partner, or what everyone claims they want in a partner, is kindness, and then we think, okay, so if I'm kind, then they will want me, and then we're confused when we are kind to someone and they don't like us back. And I think the point that needs to be emphasised here, I mean, obviously they do want kindness in general, but they won't be attracted to you just because you're kind. What they do want, though, is they want a partner that they're attracted to be kind to them. Unfortunately, for a person to be interested in you, you can't only be kind to them, you also have to be attractive in their eyes. And another reason why these covert contracts are so bad for your relationships is that unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Because if you expect something back, but you don't communicate it, the other person doesn't know that you're expecting that, and they won't understand why you're unhappy or why you're angry at them. And also because you haven't said anything, they won't know that you would like them to change their behaviour, and they have no idea what's going on. And they didn't agree to the contract in the first place, so it's really not their fault at all if you didn't say anything and if they didn't agree to that anyway. And either way, if you only give because you want something back. If you think that whenever you're kind to someone or whenever you give someone anything, that they somehow owe you, that they, for example, owe you love and appreciation, that in itself can't be true love, no matter how infatuated or in love you are, because true love is giving someone just because you want them to feel better, just because you want them to be happy, and not because you want anything in return. True love isn't transactional, as in I will only give you something if you give me something in return. So obviously the key here, what I want to stress, is you shouldn't stop giving, you shouldn't stop, because obviously I think we all should try to be the kindest and best version of ourselves as much as we can. So I would still continue giving. Obviously, if you give and give and give and that person doesn't want you to give them that, then you should definitely not do it. And also, if the other person doesn't appreciate it, then you should just stop, simply because it's better for you. Instead of just withholding everything and not giving anything and kind of being a jerk, you definitely don't want to go into that direction to stop being a nice guy. You can be kind, and in fact, nice and kind aren't the same thing, because being nice is just trying to pretend you're kind so that someone will like you, whereas being kind is just doing things for others out of a genuine care for them, because you actually want them to be happy no matter how they think about you after you do that. The key is to give without expectation. Basically, give as much as you can, but up to the point where you don't expect anything in return. Give the kind of things that you're kind of like willing to lose. So basically, give without expectation and don't give to get. However, obviously, you also shouldn't be a pushover who gives and gives and gives, no matter how little the other person cares about you. You don't want to feel used by anyone. And you definitely don't want to give so much that people are just, for example, friends with you because they know they can take advantage of you. And when it comes to expectations, I'm not saying not to have any expectations at all. What I'm saying is don't give to expect something, but you should have certain expectations, as in standards about how you allow other people to treat you, as in boundaries. Boundaries are extremely important and something that nice guys and nice girls really struggle, me included, really struggle with. And you are also allowed to have needs. You can also not necessarily expect, because no one owes you anything, as no one has to do those things for you, but you can ask for them. That's no problem at all. And the key part is that if you have expectations, that you communicate those. The worst thing possible is to have lots and lots of expectations that you never ever communicate. But as long as you communicate your expectations, and also, okay, when someone rejects that, for example, if you're just simply asking for too much, that could also be the case, or if it's just simply something that the other person can't do for you. And it's really very important to have boundaries, and also in that sense have expectations and standards, because by setting these boundaries, you teach other people how to treat you. So if you don't have any standards or boundaries, then they're just going to walk all over you and not respect you. Whereas if you do have boundaries, then they will respect you and treat you the way you want to be treated. However, when it comes to this boundary topic, I do have to say that I personally believe this to be the case. Obviously, it's totally fine, and I would also maybe understand your point a bit if you don't see it the way I do, but I think there's still lots of people who struggle with boundaries a lot. That's why it's very important to talk about these. But I do think that somehow setting boundaries has been talked about so much that some people even take it to the extreme, but that's just my opinion. Except if the person is like totally toxic, obviously, then you should cut them off. But in my opinion, anyone can do what they like, but I myself would only cut off someone entirely if they're like truly toxic, if they're truly manipulative, and if they also intend to manipulate you. I think we've also forgotten somehow that human beings are human, as funny as it sounds, but everyone makes mistakes every now and then, and I personally don't think that you should cut someone off immediately the very first time they've made a mistake, because everyone is going to make a mistake at some point in their life, and probably multiple mistakes. I mean, if they repeat that mistake on and on and on, and it really gets on your nerves, that's a different matter. But if they made a mistake once, and they're willing to learn from it, and it's not totally manipulative or toxic, then I personally would give that person a second chance. I think nowadays, because so many people talk about boundaries, that some people just are too quick to cut people off entirely.